What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. Basically, the car is completely ready for paint. It's all primed. All I have to do is like block it out, sand the body kit, whatever, and I could technically paint it. So if you watched the last video, I basically talked about what I wanted to build for the car, and if you didn't, that's fine. I'll explain it right now. I would like to build basically like a roadster cover, or like it's called like a speedster top. It's basically like a tonneau cover that covers the back seat. Because nobody's ever going to sit back here, so I'm not too worried about like being able to use the back seat, even though it's going to be removable, because obviously the top still has to go up and down, so I'm going to have to be able to remove it to put the top up, which is also going to make this a little bit more complicated, but I'll get into that later. So basically this is going to continue like the same profile, hopefully, as the trunk, and then kind of go up to the back of the seats here, and then like dip down, kind of have like the double hump. Yeah, just like a lot of convertibles do have, but they just never made it for this car because it's such a limited run and whatever. So my goal for this is to make it look like it came on the car, or like it was an option for the car. I don't want it to look like it's just chilling on the car and it came off of like a Miata or something. I want it to like look like it was built for the car and kind of have like the same shape and stuff overall as the car. And yeah, I've never built anything like this crazy or big or anything, so it's gonna be like a learning experience for me. So a lot of trial and error. I'm basically just gonna learn as I go and try and figure it out. So my whole plan of attack right now with this project, I think, is gonna be basically just make a base. I just went and bought some 1.5 inch pink styrofoam insulation, so it should be nice and like stiff because it'll be sitting up on here or something, so it should be okay. So I'm gonna cut that to shape, basically get it sitting in there, see how it's gonna sit in there. I'm gonna have to do something about this. I don't know if I'm gonna have to like build it up above that, or like kind of cut around it, because obviously that's the seatbelt. You can't move that. You can't do anything with that. So yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see if I can go over it, or if I just have to cut around it. I'd rather go over it, that way it's nice and, you know, flowing. You don't see like whatever. But my plan is to go get these moldings. I'll put these moldings on, and then basically see what we can do with bringing that piece like right up to that molding. And then I think I'm gonna have to remove this piece, which is basically just like a trim piece, as far as I know. It kind of like moves and comes up a little bit when you put the top down, and it just fills in the area behind the back seat and the trunk. So I think I'm gonna remove that, and I'm just gonna build this top thing to go like underneath the trunk. And that's another thing, I'm gonna have to build it in 2 pieces. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I'll have to make it 2 pieces. I'm gonna build it in 1 piece, and then at some point in the process, I'm gonna have to cut it in half and basically make it so I can just like wing nut it together or something. So there's gonna have to be a seam in the middle, like right in the middle. Should be okay. I should be able to get make a nice gap just so you won't even notice. But the reason for that is if I leave the house with it on there and then like it starts raining or something, I'm gonna have to be able to pull it off quickly, open the trunk, put the roof up, and then I'm gonna have to fit it in the trunk. And obviously a 5-foot section all the way across the car is not gonna fit in the trunk. So what I'm gonna have to do is make it out of 2 pieces, which is not a big deal. So I think the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna unbolt these, take these off, and see what is holding this on, or if I can take this off, and then that'll kind of decide what direction I go with this. And then basically I'm gonna try and find some cardboard or maybe some paper or something and make a template, and then I'll cut it on the foam. Like I said, it's gonna be a learning experience. I don't know how far I'm gonna get with this in this video, but yeah, this is something that I've wanted to do for like a pretty long time with this car. I've never seen another one. I did just see someone with the Varietta build like a flat part, and it was kind of like wrapped in interior material, and like that's cool, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, I've never seen anyone with this, so I really would like to do this and just be a little bit different than all the other Variettas. Yeah, I'm just gonna get into it and we'll see what happens. So I just got the trunk open, and I think if I undo like these 4 bolts and then those 4 bolts over there, that whole thing should come off. It's like super solid too. It's really weird. I'm not exactly sure why it's so serious, but I don't know. I hope if I take it off, it's not gonna affect anything. I think it's gonna be much easier to deal with this without that, because the chances of me being able to form fiberglass tight with that, and then underneath there so you don't see a gap. It's really slim. So I think getting rid of that's going to be the move, and then just be able to make the piece flat and go underneath it. And yeah, it's going to kind of suck when I don't have the top on, or when I don't have the, I'm going to call it the cover, just so you know. I'm going to call it the cover so we're not confused with the top of the car, like the roof. It's going to kind of suck when I don't have the cover on, because that'll be wide open. But like I said, that's should rarely be, because I mean, usually like 90% of the time I drive this thing with the top down, because it's, why would you not? I don't drive it in the rain, so it should be fine. And same with these. If I have to leave these caps off, this looks super ugly, but it's gonna get covered, so I think it's gonna be okay. So I'm gonna get that off, and we'll see what happens. So I actually opened the top up a little bit. It's way easier to get to, but you can see, I don't know what happens here, but there's this whole mechanism that moves. And when it gets to a certain point, this kind of like pops up. But anyways, I don't think it'll be an issue if I remove it. It's not really changing anything. It's just this part won't be here. Everything else will still be intact, and it should be fine. I'm hoping. Well, I guess we'll find out very shortly. Okay, I got that piece off. But one thing I did not think about was, this is the window, right? So now you're just gonna see all that anytime the roof is up and you're just looking in the window. That really sucks. I thought it was like, I don't know what I thought. I would never pay attention, but I thought that it like folded up when the roof folded down somehow, because it does move. It's on a spring, so it moves somehow. And like this bracket, it goes up and down. So something does move, but it's always visible. So that sucks. I honestly, the only thing I can think of, because I don't think that I can get it to work with that piece in there. So I think what my solution is gonna be for this is just like limo tint the back window, just so it's like fully black. Which I always did, like my S14 was limo tint all the way around, because I always drove with the windows down because I had no AC. And this, I drive with the roof down, so I'll really never have the windows up. So I might do the same thing on this car. But yeah, I'm gonna think about this a little bit more, but I don't think that I can do it with that on there. So I think that's just how it's gonna have to be. Also, I haven't really fully put the roof up and down, so I'm hoping that it didn't like have to be there in order for another operation to take place, because there's like a lot of things going on in this mechanism with the gears and all this stuff. And like this whole thing is attached to that piece, and like it moves that bracket and it goes up and down. It doesn't really lock anywhere though, it kind of just floats there. So, and then this comes down and hits that, and when it pushes that, I'm assuming that's when that would come up and pop out. So I'm really hoping that it's gonna be fine, but I'm gonna have to cycle it through a couple times and we'll see, I guess. So I did some more like looking around and just kind of gauging it. I took these pieces off. They used to come up like this. I took those off, took that back part out. So now you can see we got a ton of room to build something. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna build it out that thing, kind of obstructing everything. And then once I get it fully built, maybe put that thing back in and then see what I can do to make it work. I'm gonna see how much of a hassle it's gonna be just to build it with all this open real estate now. And then once I get it built, maybe I can modify it to then fit with that piece in there. If not, whatever. But I would just rather have something in there, but we'll see what happens. So I think for now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna unbolt these seat belts. They're already super loose because I had to take them out anyways to get these trim pieces off. So I'm just gonna take those off, let them hang. That way this is gonna be completely open, and then I can start making a template. I have to find some cardboard. I think there's some underneath the Skyline, but I'll have to check. And then I can lay it up here, make a nice template, get it to the right size. Then I will cut it out of that stuff and we'll see what happens. So this is basically what I'm starting with. So this is just a piece of cardboard, and I kind of have it positioned kind of where I want it, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't know. But anyways, so I've just basically marked up underneath somewhat where it's gonna be. So I'm gonna trim that off, get the general shape basically, then put it back on there and do it again. Just kind of get it closer and closer to where I want it. And then once I get a pretty good shape, I'll just lay it on there and transfer it over to that. Okay, so like I said, I think I'm gonna go and get the moldings for that little area, just so that way I know basically where it's gonna sit on the car, and I know if I'm gonna cover it or if I'm gonna like butt up to it, because I really don't know. So I'm gonna go get those. You kind of see, obviously this is very early stages, but you can kind of see where I'm going with it, and it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in the world. So that's good. I base all of my opinions are if it's the worst thing in the world or not. And this is so far not. Okay, so I did a little bit of trimming. Got it to fit like pretty good back here. You see I cut a little bit too much off there. So what I'm gonna do is I'll add a little bit of tape. Just fill up that area. That way when I put it on the foam, I can just trace it out and it'll be where I need it. Also got a little happy here. I didn't have it up far enough and I kind of marked this off here, but I wanted it like over here. But I think it'll be too close to the seats, so I want a little bit of a gap between the seats just so you can lean back a little bit and whatever. So I want it right there. So there's a little tab here. So I'm making it even with that on both sides. That way I know it's like perfectly straight, right? Because you don't want to just eyeball it, you know, if the seats are too far or whatever. So at least something on the car that can't move and it's the same on both sides 100%. So we're just gonna base it off of that tab. And then if I want to add a little bit, whatever, to like round or something, I don't know. I might do like a waterfall thing in the center. I'm not too sure. That sounds really complicated. So I'm just trying to do this. But I put these moldings all on. So I have this a little bit bigger than it needs to be. And that way I can always shave back, right? It's easier to cut off than it is to put on, so. And here, same thing. A little bit bigger. But it's fitting up in there pretty good. This is just cardboard and it took me about an hour to get it to this point, and it's like the thickness of cardboard. So once I go to the 1.5 inch stuff, I know it's gonna be a huge pain and it's probably not gonna fit, but I'm gonna trace out this shape onto that and then just lay it in here and see what happens. I have it traced out on there now. It's still really rough, but like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I don't even know if this is how you're supposed to cut the foam, but I'm gonna use this knife. This is not working already. We'll see if that does anything. So I literally just threw it on there, right? Now, as you can imagine, now it's 1.5 inches thick, so it's sitting up super high and not fitting great, obviously, because I had it stuck in underneath before and now it's not. So what I need to do, you can see it stays nice and straight though. Like there's a little bit of a bow there, but not a big deal. So I think what I'm gonna do is basically, see this, they have this like step like machined out or whatever. I think I'm basically gonna take from this tab over to this molding, so the edge of it pretty much. I'm gonna take that up to that, basically all the way back to like where the molding would stop, so about back here probably. Try and get that to sit down a little bit, see if that'll help with this. And then once I get it sitting down nicely where I want it along the side, if there's anything still sticking up like this, I can just mark it with like the Sharpie. And you see, now you can see. So I could just mark that and then take it off and basically just shave that nice and flush. And then we'll have the base. And then I can start building in the center here, basically like the little humps, well, the big humps, whatever, up to the seat. It's really hard to like gauge, especially on camera. Like even in person, it doesn't look like anything, but on camera, it really doesn't look like anything. But I can kind of see the vision now, and I'm really liking it. But yeah, I just got to do a little bit of work to get this to fit down. A little more cutting. It doesn't really look like much, but I trimmed out basically so like that. So now it's not hitting there, so it's just sitting on here. You can see it will fit down in there and match up with that. Obviously it's still really rough cut, but now what I'm gonna do is go around and mark all along that back edge. You can see where it's sticking up, and then we'll get it like nice and flush here, and then we can start, I think we can start building like from that point on. Like I said, I'm basically just making this up as I go, so we'll see if this even ends up working. So after a bunch of trimming and cutting and stuff like that, you can kind of see like we're starting to get a shape, I guess. Obviously this still needs some work. It's all super rough, but I got it kind of flared around there. See, this side's still a little bit too high. I kind of want it to be like on an angle from there, so I'm just gonna take the knife, cut that a little bit more. But I think what I'm gonna end up doing is just making it fit like to this edge pretty much, have a nice gap in there, and then I'll figure out something like to fasten it or whatever in there. And now you can really see like how much of on a downward slope that is. It's gonna be pretty difficult, honestly, but I think it'll be super cool. And if I can actually follow through and finish it, I think it's gonna be like really unique and it should be nice. Like I said, I'll probably end up cutting this back, just to put the seat back, and so it looks not just completely straight. I'll cut a little like semicircle out here and behind that seat, and then maybe add a little area in there to go in like between the seats where the center console is. But it's like 11 o'clock at night. I've been out here for probably 5-6 hours now, and that's all I got done. But just kind of, you know, feeling it out. Now what I'm gonna start doing is start like shaping for the humps. But I think it's actually gonna be the next video because I just edited a bunch, and this is actually, it's quite a long process. So I don't make the videos too long. I know some of it's kind of boring, but I think it's kind of cool to see the process, and especially if it works out. Starting from that to what I think it's gonna look like, it should be pretty cool. So I don't know, hopefully you found this interesting. Hopefully you think it's gonna be cool, and if not, maybe keep watching because you could be proved wrong or right. I'm not sure. I don't know, hopefully it looks good. I think it'll look cool if I can pull it off. But yeah, next video we're gonna start on the humps, and you're actually gonna be able to start to see like the shape and basically what I want to do. I appreciate you watching. If you want to like, comment, subscribe, that's cool. But I guess we'll see you in the next one.